Call the names. Wake the room. Wake the room. Wake the room! Lou, Rex, Pam Ray, Naomi, Afasiana, Babbler, Monarch Soul, JoJo, Gray Eyes, fill my eyes. Poets assemble. No masks, no manners. Say it plain, or say it broken. Monday night in the garden of enlightenment. Low light lit minds, every line got intent. Clock ticks crooked and the room turns vigilant. Quiet so loud you can hear what the tension meant. Then it slips after midnight, manners get murdered. Nice little masks get cracked by a word or a murmur. Twisted Tuesdays twist truth till it turns on its heel. Clean cut faces go strange when the dark gets real. You can feel that shit, that slick little slip when the grin stays sweet, but the eyes don't sit. Like the room grew ribs, like the walls grew ears, like the hush got hands and it's pulling you near, and the words don't rest, they press. Put a heel on the chest, leave a dent in the breath. Every line like a knock from the back of the brain. Like you came in one shape, you won't leave the same. Late night poets, where the room leans in, where the sharp gets shown in the soft dome dim. Late night poets, hear the whole thing shift from a whispering the ribs to a line that lifts from the darkened edge of doubt to the pull you can't ignore. We don't just read the night, we make it something more. Say it plain, say it broken. Late night poets, Wednesday breaks, parts in the parks, ink down the spine, half halo, half hazard, both hands in the light. In the yard, a seduction walks soft through the smoke. Silk on the tongue with the blade in the joke. Books and bards wakes dust in the depth of the shelves. Old ghosts lean out and start naming themselves in a craft in Sullen. Not the ache gets a voice, pain stands up straight and makes silence a choice. Then break on through when the devil gives way, when the mass is saint but the pulse says pray. Echoes in the dark, go hunt the fear, that thing with no name starts ringing in your ear. Say it, say it. Fill my eyes with poetry, don't water it down. Let it bite, let it bloom, let it burn through the crowd. Bad company grins like a bruise, dressed smart, and rhythm and rhyme puts a boot through the heart. Late night poets, where the room leans in, where the sharp gets shown in the soft dome dim. Late night poets, hear the whole thing shift from a whisper in the ribs to a line that lifts from the darkened edge of doubt to the pull you can't ignore. We don't just read the night, we make it something more. Say it plain, say it broken. Late night poets, some come shattered, some come slick. Some speak honey with a blade in it. Some sound velvet, some sound wire. Some walk in low and take the room higher. Some come holy, some come liars. That's the thing! This ain't filler for the dead space, no. This is pulse with a pen, this is blood with a nickel, this is breath to the backbone, ink with the crown. Live mics, live nerves, truth laid bare in the round. This is the beautiful mess, the bruise and the bloom, the line that cuts clean and makes a little room. Late souls, wide eyes, all nerve in the dark. A room full of hearts beating hard through the dark. Wake the room, wake the room. Late night poets, where the room leans in, where the sharp gets shown in the soft dome dim. slips past polite. We tell the truth. LNP, we love you. Stay frosty.
Hello and welcome to In Our Craft or Sullen Art, the multifaceted world of words inked. Here we will ponder and discuss poetry inspired by literary minds throughout history. I am Pam Ray, and with me is my co-host JoJo. JoJo and I are poets on a website called All Poetry with a group of poets called Late Night Poets. If you find tonight's show is not your cup of tea, please check out our other shows. We have 1 to 2 shows per night on a variety of styles of topics and poetry, something to suit everybody's taste. Also, make sure when you get a chance to check out the poetry anthologies put out by Late Night Poets, because when you purchase those, you not only get amazing poetry, you help support these radio shows. And hello, JoJo. How's it going?
Hey, Pam. Happy Thursday.
Yeah, one of those, right?
Yeah.
They kind of start blending together, don't they?
They do.
Yep. Especially when you do shows almost practically in a row. And yep, I get that. And happy Thursday to you too. And so I saw 82 degrees today, which around your area, which seems to be quite pleasant for you.
I think it might have been a little higher than that at the peak.
Oh, okay.
Maybe 84, but by the time I actually went outside, it was like 4 or 5 o'clock. And so I think it was a little lower, 82-ish, but just gorgeous either way.
Yep. I'm so picky. That's just still hot for me, but it depends. Like, sometimes 82 can be comfortable, but there's got to be a breeze, and I don't know. Like, honest to goodness, I need it somewhere between like 60 and 74 for me to be comfortable.
Well, you're not going to get that much in the summer. It's a little warmer than that usually, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But that's okay. And honestly, I'm not going outside right now because besides it being a little too warm for me, like it's been in the 80s and 90s, we're also having some of that, bad, really like not as dangerous as Robbie's air quality. But, it's still, we're at the unhealthy levels.
Yeah. So has some of that smoke drifted down to you?
Yes. Well, it's because not only is there the forest fires in Canada that reach us, but also there's ones in Minnesota where the smoke is reaching us too.
Oh, so, I see.
Yeah. But I know it could be worse.
It could be, but
absolutely. But well, my thing is I'm just really prone to sinus problems, and I don't have asthma, but like anything that triggers my allergies, like I just really don't do well. Like if I try to walk right now, I have trouble breathing. Not like asthma attack, but it's still just, you know what I mean? Like not not comfortable, not healthy. So I've been keeping myself busy inside,
with the air conditioner going.
Yes, with the air conditioner. Yes, in a relationship with my air conditioner.
There you go. It's not complicated. I just love my
exactly. It's very straightforward. The air conditioner cools me off, and I turn it on. I mean, can't get better than that. And I see Robbie, and he says he has his air purifier going 100% 24/7 nowadays, which I believe. I actually feel like an air purifier is something that I need to invest in.
Oh, yeah, they can make a difference when the air quality goes to shit. So,
oh,
yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. That is so true. So true.
the other thing to maybe invest in if you don't like the humidity is a dehumidifier.
That's actually a good idea. That's actually a good idea. Yeah, I feel like anybody like and I think humidifiers probably help. I don't know for sure, but I would think they help with sinus issues. Um I one of the little things I invested in for myself is a neti pot, which is horribly uncomfortable to do, but so worth it. Like if you have anybody ever has sinus issues, that to me is just a great investment. The only thing is,
Yeah.
try not to use water from your tap, because that's like, there's very rarely problems with neti pots, but if it is, it's usually because people didn't use the right water. Yeah, and okay, so just to let people know, I know they're used to having Echoes in the Dark right after this show, but for this week, we're not going to do that. Robbie will be joining me Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern US time. And that is when this week we will be doing Echoes in the Dark. And hopefully 2 weeks from now, we'll be back to our usual after midnight time.
So the dark does not echo tonight, huh?
It does not. It'll be echoing on Saturday, just a little bit earlier. So yes, tonight the darkness will be silence. So there we go. There we go. And for tonight's show, we're going to be delving into and discussing the rest of our carryovers from the Anton Chekhov contest, which had a wonderful response.
Yeah.
We have like 15 carryovers that I figure, that'll give us plenty to discuss. And, if need be, we'll throw on a couple of our poems at the very end. But I think 15 is a decent amount. And, I just really like when a contest has quantity and quality.
Yeah, we had some serious amounts of both in this contest.
Yes, absolutely. I have to agree. And it's and considering the quality of work Anton Chekhov put out himself, and how inspiring he was to other authors. I mean, I don't know, I can definitely see how people respond really well to his quotes. Oh, and I actually have, just so people know, I do have the contest up for our next show, which is going to be Nikolai Gogol, which I know he's another author from Russia. But I wanted to do him because it was actually a suggestion by Phil the Poet. And thank you very much, Phil, for that suggestion. I was listening to an autobiography on YouTube about, or a biography, one of those two. Dang it. But anyways, I was listening to a video about Nikolai Gogol, and I wanted to make sure to get that contest up. And since it was suggested by somebody, because I want to encourage people to make suggestions, like if anybody has any ideas for an author, a poet, a playwright that they would like to see featured on In Our Craft or Sullen Art, please feel free to message either myself or T.S. JoJo, either one. Right, Joe?
Absolutely.
Yes, because we love hearing people's suggestions. But yeah, so that contest is up, and people do have a couple weeks to write for it. And, I'm looking forward to that too. But for now, we've got an amazing lineup of poetry for tonight. And we'll go ahead and get this ball rolling. So the first poem I have up is My Eyes by Mustafa Hakan Selikar. And John, would you give that a read for us, please?
I will. So this is My Eyes by Mustafa Hakan Selikar. My eyes are immersed in the horizon tonight. Approaching waves are the salt of the seas. My eyes have become a beacon far away, closing doors, open one after another. My eyes keep wandering in the middle of the sea, close in the distance, distant people in the near. My eyes keep caressing the heart of the wind. Life suddenly takes wings like the dancing birds of the koi seas. My eyes turn green and shades of blue. I don't know whose mouth my mind is in the blue evening of endless horizons. My eyes drag, my heart takes wings, waits with my hands clasped, the owner of silence. End poem.
Great read there, John.
What'd you think there?
Oh, I thought this was beautiful. I liked the repetition. I mean, you can definitely tell the eyes are between the title and the repetition. You can tell the eyes are a very important part of this poem. That it's really all about what the poet is taking in around them. I see he wrote to. She had a passionate longing for the garden, the darkness, the pure sky, the stars. And I feel like by showing us, because this is a first person narrative with the use of the word my, the poet Mustafa is showing us what he sees potentially, or what he wishes he saw.
Right.
But I feel like this feels very personal, that he's showing us what he's taking in, and that he showing us what he takes in and what is important to him, what really touches his soul. There's just several parts of this. First of all, when he says in the first couple lines, my eyes are immersed in the horizon tonight, approaching waves are the salt of the seas. Like, I think that's both, to me, that's layered. Like, it feels like it talks about, yes, the sea itself, but I feel like the salt of the seas is perhaps a representation of tears coming from the eyes. I also really like the personification in the phrase koi seas, like koi being a word that's not used often enough, that basically means kind of shy. So what I see as koi seas would be the time that the tide is drawing back, like almost at that point the tide is feeling shy and doesn't want to interact with you. And also this is a wonderful ending. My eyes drag, my heart takes wings, waits with my hands clasped, the owner of silence. That is such an empowering phrase, because too oftentimes we do see silence as something we're not able to handle. But if we make ourselves the owner of the silence around us, to me, that is very empowering. And in fact, that is a phrase I need to start using myself. I am the owner of this silence in the moment. So excellent write by Mustafa, and very well done.
Yeah, I really like this. So I think that you know, the eyes are clearly, you know, they're representing a body. I mean, or the person. And I love that he's basically using the eyes to immerse himself in you know, the horizon, the ocean. The eyes are a beacon. They keep wandering, so you know, he anthropomorphizes the eyes. So they're wandering in the middle of the sea. They they keep caressing the heart, so they have the ability to caress or touch. And he brings in the heart there kind of obliquely, the heart of the wind. And so he's just kind of mushing all of these different symbols together in just a gorgeously written piece. And then he's just basically says life suddenly takes wings. And so then he really just because he also adds wings to the heart down in the last stanza. My eyes drag, my heart takes wings. So he's giving all of these anthropomorphized or body symbolized these body symbols. He's just putting them all together into an image of a person who is just embracing life, engulfing itself in life, and does it with some just gorgeous imagery, but also gorgeous writing. I love that my eyes turn green in shades of blue. What a gorgeous way to write whatever that color is. The green also, I think they're, you know, the eyes being green is a symbol maybe for envy. What I don't know is I don't know whose mouth my mind is in the blue evenings of endless horizons. So I think he's talking about someone, but he doesn't know who. So I found that interesting. So I think it's a really gorgeously written piece and very, very well aligned with the prompt as well.
Yeah, that was an intriguing phrase. I like your observations there, and especially the one on perhaps the idea of green being the representation of envy. Isn't there, like, what is it? Is it the nose or the ears? What is it that on you that's supposed to itch, and that means somebody's thinking of you?
Oh, I don't know. If your ears are
Yeah,
burning, that means someone's talking about you. But
talking about you, but not thinking about you. Yeah, that's it.
yeah,
Talking about you. Yeah,
yeah.
maybe his ears were itching.
So I just, you know, the prompt was she had a passionate longing for the garden, the darkness, the pure sky, the stars. And so there is a she in there, you know, in the prompt, there is a she.
Yes.
And so I get the sense that, you know, underneath this, he's maybe talking about a woman. And I wonder if the green eyes maybe has to do with the garden in the prompt. But maybe also maybe the envy of this woman who maybe is gardening or and enjoying, you know, the pure sky, the stars. I was wondering if there's maybe a little bit of envy there for the woman anyway. But
That could be. That could be. Yeah, maybe also it's a long distance relationship.
oh
Because
yeah,
that would explain the heart of the wind. My eyes keep caressing the heart of the wind.
yeah.
Um,
And
and
also the horizon and the horizon
yes.
and the wind. Yeah, so all of that. Yeah, maybe it's a maybe it's a woman who's a little out of reach right now.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And I see Fountain Pen, when she was able to leave a comment, she actually was put a comment in Turkish, which is Mustafa's original language. I
Yeah.
honestly wonder, because I know all poetry does the translating for poets, many of the poets who write in another language, and I have such admiration for them,
Mm.
and I wonder how much gets lost in translation.
Oh yeah. Um,
So
yeah, and sometimes I look at the poem in their native language to see if it rhymes. But I don't think this one does. I sure wish I could read Turkish.
right, me too. um yeah, yeah, I don't know. Right now in Duolingo, I'm practicing Spanish and French. I
Right,
was doing German and Latin, but on Duolingo, they only let you go so far in Latin. And then with
right.
German, I can't go any further until I'm willing to do the speaking.
Uh-huh.
But the thing is even when I'm speaking English, you know how like you have to call in and there's a machine on the other end and you have to say your name or you have to say something and it keeps saying, well, I don't understand you or please repeat. That happens to me all the time. Like it is so frustrating. And I'm like, that's when I'm speaking English. And I tried practicing German to do Duolingo,
Yeah,
which I know is I've heard is not the best for learning languages, but it's something fun to do.
yeah.
That's that's what I keep going on to one language to the next until it only lets me go so far. Maybe I'll have to put Turkish on the list.
There you go.
So at least I can say hello and order coffee or something like that. And absolutely. All right. So the next poem I'm going to put up is Your Score by Monty G. Point 25. And he was nice enough to supply us with a SoundCloud.
A famous wordsmith once never said, love is a figment of your imagination. It's simply a thought in your feeble head. You may liken it to a piano's degradation. That which follows shall be resurrect from dead. Open the top and let the strings breathe. The musical thought will eventually strike. Start with one note and then let it seethe. At last the real melody will begin its spike. That which follows shall be akin to a teeth. With one note a tune will compellingly evolve. The note to chord a chorus will then portray. A glorious inspiration shall rapidly involve. Your heart will play a beat in its tempo foray. That which follows shall in itself resolve. Do not accept the piano as merely incapable. You hold the right key, you have the passion. It is your score and therefore undebatable. As each note and chord you strike in your fashion, that which follows shall be a pianissimo beyond inevitable. Your mind shall scribe in sound each ebb and flow. Love is a ballad played in your relative minor key. It must take you where your heart wishes to go, the scale of which only you will clearly see. That which follows shall be a score, only you will know. Listen to the sounds emitted from your soul. They play the tune of love that you long to hear. The sounds of romance will meter an infectious toll. Only then will you know your love score is sincere. That which follows shall have taken you to your goal.
Oh, what a gorgeous piece.
That
Great.
really is.
Yeah, really good job there, Monty. So that was the prompt about the about love, and I gotta find it. Oh wait, it's actually.
I was going to say it's attached to the poem.
Yep, yep. The problem is the AN is. Oh, there it is. Yeah, it's in the, I forgot, image prompt. So it's in the image. I've never been in love. I've dreamt of it day and night, but my heart is like a fine piano. No one can play because the key is lost. But I don't think in the poem Monty has really lost the key, right? So I like the I really like the image of opening opening the piano, and where is it? And the opening up the piano, and like letting the strings breathe, because it gave me the sense of somebody kind of opening themselves to love, or opening their heart to love, and as a result of that, they're able to breathe, make music, and I thought that was a really sweet idea. Like they were giving their heart permission to make music again. And then there was also that movement from a note. Where is it? Start with one note and then let it seethe. At last, the real melody will begin its spike. That which follows shall be akin to a teeth. With one note, a tune will compellingly evolve. The note, a chord, a chorus will then portray. So like love might start out as this small note. Maybe it's just one person starting to become interested in someone else. Maybe it's still private to them. It's maybe just like a note in their head, but soon it grows into a chord, which is a much more complex sound, and then the chord evolves from there into a real melody and a chorus. So I thought that was a really beautiful image of sort of a note of love building into a chorus of love. And a chorus is multiple people, right? So maybe the chorus of love there is them with the partner. So I really liked that idea, because it just seems to me that that's the way love kind of works. You know, it starts out small and then builds to this roaring crescendo, and you could almost feel like you're sitting next to the piano, and it just starts with that first note, and suddenly it's, I don't know, Chopin or Mozart or Beethoven. Anyway, I really like that. I think this is a gorgeous, very sweet and with a great kind of a warm atmosphere. What do you think, Pam?
Yeah, I like how you mentioned the atmosphere of the poem, and really great observations there. Um, I'm intrigued by the opening lines. A famous wordsmith once never said, "Love is a figment of your imagination. It's simply a thought in your feeble head." And I like that because if you think about it, whether they're a poet or an author that's for love or against love, they're really, that as far as I can tell, nobody has ever denied that love exists. They may say something like how uh Anton Chekhov says, "I've never been in love." Um, and what's interesting to me is, and then I don't know his writing well enough to know that if this is a quote of something he said about himself, or if it was actually from one of his short stories or plays. Um, but either way, whenever somebody says, "I've never been in love," oftentimes I think this is kind of a self-preservation. Like, to me, I think everybody's been in some form of love, and maybe we want to be in denial because it ended up that the person we were in love with, it didn't work out, it ended up hurting us. It's like, when you have friends, and I don't know if this happens with guys, but I've had girlfriends who it's the best sex ever when they're with him. And as soon as the guy, they break up and he turns out to be an ass, it's the worst sex ever. And I'm like, okay, surely it didn't change that much.
Right.
I mean, you can say he's an a-hole. You can say that he turned out not to be right for you, but really, I don't know. That's just my thoughts. And I know that was kind of a side thought there, but I do feel like denying that you've ever never saying that you've never been in love is kind of a mental self-preservation. I like how this, to me, really puts the power in your own hands. Like, the quote is saying that nobody knows how to handle the key to my piano, which is this physical representation of love. And Monty is saying in his song, which, by the way, has beautiful choice of music that he put his words to. But he's saying, you hold the key. You get to decide. You're in charge of the key. You're the one, who has the right to say, okay, you have the right now to use the key at this time because I am handing it to you. Or for this time, I'm going to keep it for myself. And when I love the fourth stanza that says, "Do not accept the piano as merely incapable. You hold the right key, you have the passion. It is only your score and therefore undebatable. As each note and chord you strike in your fashion, that which follows shall be a pianissimo beyond relatable." Like, you can create your music, you can be true to yourself, you can be true to your heart, and don't see yourself as incapable of love. I know it can be more difficult for people, especially if you've been hurt in the past. It's really difficult to trust people. It's really difficult to start new relationships. But I think Bonte has really encouraging words here on the idea of not only taking the keys into your hand, but not seeing yourself as broken, so absolutely an amazing write and very well done.
Yeah, so I think that might be the relationship back to the what is it, a broken or missing key in the prompt.
Oh, okay.
So the lost key. Yeah. So it's the heart is like a fine piano no one can play because the key is lost. So maybe that's the relationship back to the lost key in the prompt. Nice catch.
Yes.
So
yes. And
yep.
Did you want to read what you put, the information you put in StreamYard? So
yeah, so Google tells me that it's from Act 4 of Three Sisters, which I haven't read, so I can't tell you much more. But there's three sisters in the play who they live in some remote village or something in Russia, and they want to return to Moscow, and I think they never actually end up leaving, and so I think that I think there's a little bit of longing. The I've never been in love, I've dreamt of it day and night may also relate to their longing to, or Irina's longing to return to Moscow. Moscow, at that time was just the center of Russia. The political, the cultural, it was the place with nightlife and things to do, and so it was just the center of Russia. And so I think maybe Irina also is in love with the idea of returning to the center of the Russian universe, not just Baron Tuzenbach. She actually is not in love with him, so maybe the longing in the quote, the dreaming is of returning maybe to Moscow. So, but yeah, as I say, I haven't read it. I only read a summary of it.
Yeah, neither have I. I'll have to see if I can check that out on YouTube or something. But I'm glad you looked that up, because that is great information to know. And yeah, I really wish we still lived in a time where you communicated like with flowers, like, you know what I mean? Like if a guy wanted to court you and you handed him a certain flower, that meant no, and then you just
Yeah.
meant nope, sorry, or yep, now we're engaged.
Yeah, I think it's normal for well, I shouldn't say normal. It's more prevalent maybe for men to get flowers for women. So it seems to me anyway, in my experience, that tends to be more of a one-directional communication when it really should be.
It really does. It really does. And yeah, that is very true. That is very true. But up next, we have the impoverished. Oops, sorry, I started reading the first line. My bad. All right, try this again. Homeless Bum by Julie Buck. And it goes like this. The impoverished understands need. The wealthy feasts on greed, because poor people are familiar with penniless living. They are more apt to help out a wandering traveler. How about some chicken broth to warm your bones? Asks one indignant woman, always willing to feed the hungry. When the rich come across a roaming stranger, their first instinct is danger. Step away from my mansion, orders the prosperous owner. But, sir, my good man, can you please spare a dime? Listen up, you homeless bum. Get out. Trespassing is a crime. Too bad rudeness ain't. Sure, I'm going, but I'm gonna take my time. End poem.
Nice job reading that, Pam. So yeah, that's the prompt. It is easier to ask of the poor than of the rich, and I like what Julie does there. I like the title, "The Homeless Bum." You kind of know what's coming from the very beginning. But I like that, you know, poverty is compassion, whereas wealth is just greed. And the juxtaposition of the chicken broth and the mansion, I think, is strong. You know, chicken broth is often what, you know, we eat when we're feeling lousy, and so like it's an elixir or infirmary. Is that the right or no, not infirmary? That's a building. Or anyway, for sickness or when you're down, and so the chicken broth sort of sustains you. Whereas the mansion is just this greedy building or a house where the greedy live, and so there's this nice moral arc, nice moral theme to the narrative arc running all the way through. But I think the second, third stanza, poor people are familiar with penniless living. They're more apt to help out a wandering traveler. And I think, you know, according to my reading of the news for the last few years, that definitely seems to ring true. I was just calculating or looking up last night. There's like 986 billionaires living in the United States right now, and
Wow.
they sure don't seem to be at all keen to help out their fellow citizens by paying even a dime more of tax than they're willing to, or than they have to. But yeah, almost 1,000 billionaires in the United States, which is crazy. So the top 1,000 or so Americans have way over $1 trillion in wealth, which could make quite a huge dent in starving children, for example. And yet nobody is doing a single thing to make any of that happen. So anyway, I thought this was a really strong moral right here from Julie Buck. Really well done. What did you think, Pam?
Oh, I have to agree with you. It is definitely a strong right. I do find that, and to me, that is just absolutely mind-boggling. The amount of millionaires, you know, within the world, and you know, and I think, well, this isn't 100% true, because I'm sure there are rich people. I've never known any millionaires, but I've known people who make way more money than me who have been really giving people. And you know, I'm sure there are poor people that aren't willing to share. I don't like to, you know, put people into a box, but I do feel like it seems like most of the time those who have suffered themselves are more willing to share what they have. And I really liked your observation on the chicken broth, because yes, that is a great way to, you know, comfort the mind, the body, the soul. You know, it is something that you go to when you're sick. But there's also, it seems like when you're having a get together where you're going to feed a lot of people, like soups, stews, goulashes, casseroles, whatever, you know, those are the kind of things you can stretch to feed a lot of people, to have company, or if you're part of an organization that feeds a large amount of people. I really like how it feels like the first part of the poem has a lot to do with observation, and then then she goes into where there's actual conversation. Like first the indignant woman, and I like the use of the word indignant, because I wonder what she's indignant about. Is she indignant, like perhaps because of the way that the rich people aren't sharing, aren't being compassionate? Like we're left guessing, and I kind of like that. I like that it leaves us with the idea of, yes, she's indignant, but what is she indignant about? Is it because she's always willing to feed the hungry, but
No,
people who actually have
indigent.
indigent?
Indigent.
I thought it was indignant. Oh, indigent.
No, I know.
What is? Oh, okay. Well, my bad. Well, that takes that idea back. Okay, so what does indigent mean?
Someone who is indigent is someone who's impoverished.
Oh, well, there you go. I learned something new. All right. Well, now we know why she's indigent, because she too is poor, and
exactly.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, all right. That makes much more sense. That makes much more sense. Very cool. Very cool.
When I first read it, I read indignant as well, and then I was like, wait, that doesn't make any sense. Why would she be indignant? Right. And then I reread it. I was like, oh, indigent.
Aha, yes. That makes so much more sense. Now, the second part, like I totally get the point of it, and I like the way she makes it. Though I do think people have a right to kind of expect people not to come near their own property. Like,
yeah.
I would be very wary of someone coming onto my property that I didn't know. But I think the main point of the second part, which is the interaction between the mansion owning millionaire and the bum, is the idea that too oftentimes we treat people like they're less than if people who oftentimes have all this wealth, everything they need for themselves, and somebody is without a home, somebody's living on the streets, they sadly get treated like they're less than human. And I love the clever quip at the end. That is just awesome. Like when the response to "listen up, you homeless bum, get out, trespassing is a crime. Too bad rudeness ain't. Sure, but I'm going to take my time." Oh my goodness. Yeah, that is just, in a rather serious piece, that end line just puts the right touch of a bite and humor, because honest to goodness, I'm pretty sure I've known people that I really at the moment could have thought, it's really too bad that rudeness ain't a crime.
So the idea that this greedy mansion owner is actually concerned about trespassing, I'm going to call bullshit on that, because if this was, I don't know, let's say Girl Scout selling Girl Scout cookies, knocking on the door, asking for, if they'd like to buy Girl Scout cookies, I'm pretty sure the greedy mansion owner wouldn't say, like, "Listen up, you homeless bums, get out. Trespassing is a crime," right? So we're very selective about who we care about. About who we care about is trespassing, and who isn't. So
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I get what you're saying. I do. And I for the most part, I do agree. I do think we are a little bit more wary when it's not someone we know or someone from an organization that we know. But I do think the main point of that last part is, and you nailed it, is the idea that it's not about the trespassing. It's about that they don't want to let go of their money to help someone else out.
Right. Yeah, there seems to be a lot of that going on right now all over the world, but definitely here in the U.S.
Absolutely. Sad but true. And absolutely. All right. So the next poem we have up is "And Honey Will Outlive the Birds" by Jim Bellamy. And go ahead, please, JoJo, and give that a read.
All right. "And Honey Will Outlive the Birds" by Jim Bellamy. And honey will outlive the birds. Oh, soft-laden hills will carve a sea of clams from drills, and the fatal star shines across death's cinemas. Oh, salt money will pay for blue nerves, and denial's mystic plan serves beads to beacons. Ooh, a scrivener of tablets drops ice, aside done meteors. Ooh, a diffeer of carved lips, silences aside rocking snippet ice, and the budded sweet lover invokes bald praise, and a daddy head dreams of days. End poem. Ooh, what'd you think there, Pam?
Well, first of all, great read there, John. Well, as always, Jim Bellamy definitely offers up a thought-provoking piece. Thank goodness thank goodness it's a little shorter than usual, which is actually quite surprising. And honey will outlive the birds. I like that because that's actually part like. I'm not quite sure if the birds represent, or I'm not even sure if the honey and the birds are supposed to represent something other than what they are. But honey lasts a very long time. It's a natural antibiotic. It's got so many health benefits. And there's actually been honey found in like tombs, ancient tombs, that has still been good. Like it crystallized and, but it was still good. It's got these natural what do you call it when there's it protects against like rot and mold, antifungal, yes, that's it. That's it. But so yeah, I feel like, well, my first thoughts on this were that, of course, thought-provoking line, raw, gritty imagery and metaphors. This is an excellent write on the grand scope of life to be experienced. But I don't know, like, honey, okay, I'm going to talk while I'm thinking here. So honey represents sweetness. And birds could represent people who, and honey kind of, not quite like molasses, kind of similar to molasses, flows fairly slow. And, the bird, you represent the birds as being people who travel far and wide. And I don't know, maybe it's that whole idea that if you don't learn to quiet down, if you don't learn to go with the flow, you're not, there's going to be this idea of life is just going to pass you by too fast. I did really like the end line with the line, "and a daddy had dreams of days," and it's in a question. And the use of the term daddy head, of course, makes me think of God the Father, or the word Abba, which is the Hebrew word used in the Bible for father, but it's not father, it's actually daddy. So, or it would be like, the equivalent of saying father in a way that it's more personal. And I like that that's that question, and the idea of, does God dream, or does this higher power dream as big as we do? And I like, let's see. Of course, he's always got his O's, and he's just bringing us along in his thoughts. He's showing us the idea of life, love, and desire that we as humans dream about. And we wonder, is there a higher power out there that has those dreams as much as we do? At least that's some of the thoughts that I get from this poem. I have to admit, even though I've read this poem like 4 times, I swear to goodness, if I read it a 5th time, I would probably get something else out of it. So, but excellent write by Jim Bellamy, and very well done.
Yeah, nice. I was I stumbled on the word deifier. That's one who deifies. Let's see. So honey will outlive the birds. So I think the honey here is what outlives things when after they're dead and gone. And so you're right. Preservatives is maybe the word you were thinking of with honey. I said antifungals, but maybe more generically, it's got preservatives that help preserve it, honey over long periods of time. And you're right. I've had we have this summer house near Yosemite, and we don't go up all that often. These days, I guess people are up there every couple of weekends, but for a long time, when all of my cousins and I were young and didn't drive, we would only go up a couple of times a year. And after, I don't know, we would often find honey that had basically been sitting there untouched for like 2 or 3 years. And it was crystallized, but it was still there, and it wasn't overgrown with fungus or bacteria or anything. And if you added a little bit of hot water to it and let it sit for a few hours, it would dissolve back into honey. So yeah, honey has a very long lifespan. And it's certainly able to outlive birds. I was wondering if some of these, some of the words in this were birds, and so I looked a few up. And like dun can mean like I don't know. Dun is a color. It's also kind of a piece of stone that's used in masonry or something like that. But apparently it's also an old name that is applied to a range of dull brown birds, particularly the dunlin. And there's also I think blue could be like bluebirds, say, and lover could be lovebirds. So rocking is reminiscent maybe of rock dove. So I think that there's some really, really nicely selected wording here to bring forth the idea of birds throughout, even though I'm not sure that there's any actual name. Maybe Don is sort of a bird's name, but invokes bald praise. Maybe it could be a bald eagle. Anyway, I think Jim does a really good job anyway of giving the sense of birds all the way throughout the whole poem. even though he only says birds like once or twice. So I thought that was a really ingenious way to incorporate the birds anyway. Really nicely written too. And there's a little bit of rhyming here and there that I like. The hills and drills, and so yeah, a nice idea that that whatever this force or whatever this figure is that honey represents, it seems to me like maybe it's that prompt about only the spirit is immortal. So maybe the honey is that immortal spirit in that prompt. So it's really nice. Anyway, those are just my thoughts.
Well, I like those thoughts, and great observations there. And yeah, I can definitely see it connecting with that prompt, with the idea of the honey representing the immortal soul. So, very cool. All right. Up next, we have The Dark They Keep by X-Ray Mike 79. She lay awake where shadows pooled like wells, convinced the night had teeth and knew her name. Beyond the black, something silent dwells, waiting for her the way a well waits for rain. Candles guttered against her windowsill, while hallway lights stretched thin beneath her door. Her 60-watt guardians listened still, her small hands pressing glow sticks to the floor. Then girlhood burned away and she grew bright, fluorescent buzzing armored from the void. She drowned her rooms in noon, abolished night, and everything that whispered was destroyed. Her calendar bled color every hour, a shrine to motion, laughter, scheduled sound. She built herself a righteous neon tower where the night circled, pacing like a hound. But middle age crept in like frost through glass, and all her light began to sear her eyes. The triumph she had carried felt like brass, grown brittle from the weight of its disguise. At dusk now she will linger strangely still, and feel the dark approach, not hunger, rest. It asked for nothing, had no wish to kill, just held the space where she could be undressed. One evening, finally, she did not reach to flood the room with her familiar blaze. She let the darkness hold her, let it teach her how to stand with nothing left to brace. Now she is the warmth beside the bed of children falling slowly into sleep, the presence they lean into, not the dread, the dark they pull up to their chins and keep. End poem.
Really nice read there, Pam, of a really nice write. This is so strong. This completely worked for me. I love this. So Mike says the inspiration, quote, "The world is, of course, nothing but our conception of it." And that's the poem, I think, really strongly nails that. But this actually also, for me anyway, it was reminiscent of "It is beautiful in the forest, dark and still. In the branches of the trees, there are stars and sky." So the darkness and stillness of sort of the opening stanza, with nothing but little candles illuminating the night, and then being replaced by noon and fluorescent lights and so forth, just kind of gave me, was reminiscent for me anyway of the forest and the stars and the sky. So I thought it was a pretty good response to that prompt as well. I love how he starts off with this with a child with candles. And so, you know, candles are these really small sources of light, small like a child. And then girlhood burns away. And suddenly we're looking at, you know, the girl is represented by fluorescent buzzing lights. And they provide armor from the void. So the light here is protective, as opposed to the candles, which were kind of trying to push back that darkness of the opening stanzas. I really liked that, waiting for her, the way a well waits for rain. That's really fantastic, fantastic line. And so then anyway, then, you know, the small still candles are and night are replaced by sort of this buzzing life now of after girlhood burns away. It also kind of makes me think of you know, growing up and needing and ending up in working, you know, in an office with buzzing fluorescent lights. So it's sort of like the childish fears of the child have turned into the adult fears of the adult of having to work in cubicles underneath fluorescent lights. Anyway, she builds herself a righteous neon tower, which I thought was a fantastic way to represent her kind of armoring herself with light. But then middle age creeps in, and suddenly all of that bright light is searing her eyes. I think that's also really strong. So like what helped protect us suddenly turns against us, which I think is also part of the prompt, the prompt that this more reminded me of. Really, really nice. And then you know, at the end, she is no longer reaching to flood the room with light. She just lets the darkness hold her. So so I thought that was a strong kind of a finish before the final stanza, where she kind of leans into being the warmth of her children, maybe falling slowly into sleep. So a really strong write, really well aligned, I think, with Chekhov and several prompts. What did you think, Pam?
This is definitely a strong write. It's a powerful response to that particular quote. I felt like this is in a couple different parts as far as responding to that quote. Oh, and I also have to mention the rhyme and flow of this is just absolutely amazing. You know, because like the quote says the world is of course nothing but our conception of it. But the thing is that, you know, obviously this is a poem not only from what it reads like, but because of his AN on abuse and childhood trauma. And I think that when you experience that kind of horrifying reality as a child, that the world isn't just your conception of it. The world is what the abuser or abusers in your life have made it. And so I feel like, though, that this is definitely a journey of healing. And at first it's about, you know, that she still has that child within her, that child that's afraid of the dark, and rightfully so, because the abuse and the pain have and the trauma have come in the dark. And so there's this idea of, you know, constantly needing to being in that mindset of someone who is severely traumatized, probably dealing with PTSD, and how they cope with that. They cope with it by having the lights constantly on. And there's like another thing, and he doesn't bring this up in here, but something I had just read and makes sense is a lot of people who listen to go to sleep having to have something on, like a radio or something. Oftentimes that's a trauma response to the fear of falling too deeply into sleep. I really like the lines in the fourth stanza. Her calendar bled color every hour, a shrine to motion, laughter, rescheduled sound. She built herself a righteous neon tower when the night circled, pacing like a hound. Like, it's that idea of having to keep yourself busy, constantly having something scheduled on your calendar, because the moment you sit down in silence, the moment you lay down to go to sleep, that's when those flashbacks just come. That's when your mind focuses on everything you're afraid of. But after that, it becomes about that transition of more about the healing, the understanding that you are now in a control of your life. You are now safe in the dark isn't something to be afraid of. And I also absolutely adore the ending. I mean, this is just so powerful and heartfelt. Now she is the warmth beside the bed of children falling slowly into sleep, the presence they lean into, not the dread, the dark they pull up to their chins and keep. I mean, oh my goodness, that honestly brings tears to my eyes, because it's that idea that somebody who, as a child, people weren't there to protect her, but she is now there to protect other children. So excellent write by X-Ray Mike 79, and very well done.
I didn't see the abuse angle of it until you brought it up, but now I go back and I read that first stanza, and he's clearly writing about a child who's, convinced that there's a predator out there waiting for them. I just was thinking of it as just like a kid who was, scared of the dark, but that whole first stanza is, there's a predator, right? Something that has teeth and knows her name. And it's actually dwelling. I saw the word convinced and just thought, oh, it's just a kid who's convinced that there's something bad. But
and that very well could be. That very well could be. But
that whole first stanza is a predator, so I think that's intentional. You're right.
Yeah, sadly, just too many predators in this world. But I also know that children just have fears. Oh my goodness, we wouldn't. Back when I was married and we only had two kids, I only had two kids at the time, and they were 3 and 4, and we moved into a new house, and the house we moved into had two teenage boys, and the room my daughter was going in had a painting of a giant shark coming out of the waves. And it was a really well done painting, but oh my goodness gracious, we had to paint that over with yellow, which, I mean, I could have chosen the color, but I decided to let the 3-year-old choose the color, since we painted that room yellow as soon as possible because she refused. So yes, you never know. And I totally get it. Like, if I at 3 years old, if somebody moved me into a room with a painting of a shark, I would not have been happy.
Yeah, I mean, if you wake up in the middle of the night, not from a nightmare, you immediately get the nightmare.
Exactly. Oh, that is very true. All right. So the next poem we have up is actually the gold winner of the contest, and it is Grievances from the Grave by Puddles 33. And John, would you give that a read for us, please?
Oh, my pleasure. Grievances from the Grave by Puddles 33. My path is overgrown, choked by life that lives beyond my knowing. 1,000 footsteps erased. They no longer echo in the sunlight, nor whisper in the shadows. each print ground to dust, all direction lost, no trail to show if stream or glen or mountain peak be the place I sought to find. The dirt no longer speaks. It has buried every sigh beneath a spinning globe that measures time in increments, too vast to hold the speck of me. Even the wind has forgotten the feel of breath and bone, that space where once I held my paltry self. It no longer parts to accommodate my fragile silhouette. I was a tiny wound from which the earth has healed, a beat that did not change the dance. End poem. Ooh.
Great read there, John. I just thought this was such a beautiful and brilliant write. Puddles 33 is an amazing poet. For me, she connected really well with the chosen prompt, which is life has gone by as if I never lived. Amazing imagery and metaphors. I like I enjoy and appreciate the use of nature imagery, and the imagery of what feels like a graveyard that's kind of overrun by nature. It feels as if one has not left. I like the consistency in tone, which feels like the idea of one that has not left behind anything significant at the end of life. And I think, and not speaking on material things, but speaking like on the idea of, we often, I think, have these thoughts like, what are people going to remember about me? Like, and what will I have shared with my kids, my friends, people I was close to? What words will I have offered? And I don't know, but I honestly think sometimes of the poetry and stories I write, and I need to make sure Gene or someone has all my passwords. That way I'll be like, hide the stuff that I don't want my kids to see, even though they're all adults. Oh my gosh. But no, I think this is so wonderful, really strong. I like the narrative. It feels like it honestly is like the soul speaking from well, the title says that, grievances from the grave. So yeah. But yeah, it opens up right away. My path is overgrown, choked by life that lives beyond my knowing. Like there's so much out there, like the idea of becoming so overwhelmed that you don't bother to walk and create new paths. 1,000 footsteps erased, they no longer echo in the sunlight nor whisper in the shadows, each print ground to dust, all direction lost, no trail to show if stream or glen or mountain peak be the glance I sought to find. That makes me think, and honestly, I just think this is amazing all the way through, but I'll stop right there and say, because otherwise I'm just reading the whole poem over again. But
Right.
I love the idea of footprints as a metaphor. And, as somebody who's walked a lot of trails, because I've walked in the woods quite a bit throughout my life, the best trails, like, it's nice to go off the beaten path, but if a comfortable trail is one that's been walked before, so it's kind of like, a little, it actually creates a pathway, it creates a trail. And if you don't walk, if you don't move forward, and not literal walking, but if you don't move forward in life, you don't experience life and leave a trail for other people to follow. Yes, yes, they can go off the beaten path, they can make their own trails, but there also is that idea that you're offering potential guidance. Yes, I
Guidance.
think yes, thank you. Thank you. Can you tell occasionally I just stumble over the most simple words and my brain goes, what are we trying to say here?
Oh, I thought it was just the gin.
Yes, that must have been it. That it was that what were you on the show when
Yeah,
or you listening when
exactly.
it was that smoke infused gin?
Yep. Yep.
Yes. It was that cedar infused gin. But yeah, I really like that this speaks on the idea of how fragile life is and how we can too easily miss the opportunity to leave those trails behind us. So excellent, right? And very well done by Puddles 33.
Yeah. So I really love the craft of this. So there's this overwhelming sense of I don't want to call it fear of erasure, but because fear is something that you have in against something to come, whereas this is sort of the inverse of that. So the narrator is clearly dead and expressing grievances from the grave. So they're looking back, maybe they're lamenting the prompt of, life passed me by as if I never lived. So the craft that I like, so at every instance, Puddles uses these images, symbols and images that are really tiny. So she doesn't write about the path of her life or of the life. She instead breaks it down into the tiny footsteps that, would have made up the path, right? And there's the footsteps, they no longer echo in the sunlight nor whisper in the shadows. So whisper is, again, this tiny sound, right? And then each print is ground to dust. Dust is, again, something made up of lots and lots of very tiny particles. And so this is pretty consistent from the beginning to end. So I really like how Puddles brings in all of these words that are that just shout out small and tiny. And then, the last stanza is a tiny wound and a beat. Like a beat is a very tiny noise, and the wound is tiny. So I thought that was just excellent craft, because it really adds to that sense of erasure that of their life. That so the other thing is that the path is representative of their life, and it's overgrown and choked. So you get the sense that it's kind of nature from the very beginning. That she's writing about nature, sort of erasing the life. But then she brings in other aspects of nature, like sunlight and a mountain peak, a stream or a glen, dirt. And so that reminds me quite a bit of Philip Larkin, who wrote a lot of poetry, a lot of poetry centering around erasure and with nature as sort of the culprit. And so I got this really strong kind of Philip Larkin vibe from it. But also just the sparseness, the clarity, the word. There's not I would say, not a single extra word in this poem, which whenever I read a poem like that, it just immediately reminds me of Louise Gluck, who also had this such a restrained and yeah, such a strained and precise way of writing, and then using that to accentuate sort of the moral gravity of the poem, which for me this kind of comes through just from the idea that that if you're in the grave and you have grievances, then you kind of failed to live up to your obligation, I guess, to actually make a mark in the world, which is, I think, sort of what's being lamented in the prompt. So I thought this had a really strong ethic to it, moral ethic to it, and so it immediately reminded me of some of Louis Gluck's best writing. I think this was absolutely the gold medal winner of the contest for me, definitely. Thank you, Puddles. This is a great write.
Absolutely. Great comment there, John. All right. So up next, we have Muted Lyrics by Cedar Chapman. And he was also nice enough to supply us with a SoundCloud. So here we go.
Muted Lyrics by Cedar Chapman. How you look at me, furrowed with confusion, eyes gone dull like rain-streaked glass of a closed-down coffee shop. Where do the notes of my keyboard begin and end? Black and ivory struck together with uncertain hands, like hail rattling on concrete. A rhythm only I walk and dance to, but to others, rain boots and puddles distracting a sunny afternoon. My deepest thoughts are a choir of muted lyrics choking in my throat. As my enigma smolders behind my ribs, each slow breath is frost and fire, paralyzing me from breathing all of you in. Yet, you are the air my lungs ache for, the missing key to every locked room in my chest. When our backs touch on the bed, I see you, lost inside my fog, searching for a beacon through the haze, glancing at the empty suitcase, pondering, considering. Go, save yourself before you drown in the silence of my walls. Please, stay.
What a gorgeous write, huh?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I have to agree. Oh my gosh. And such a wonderful response to the chosen prompt, which was the one about the piano, or about being in love. Yeah. I've never been in love. I've dreamt of it day and night, but my heart is like a fine piano no one can play because the key is lost. And beautifully written. This one got the bronze in the contest. I really like the use of spacing. Amazing, great consistency in tone, amazing imagery and metaphors. And the spacing is especially poignant at the end with only those two single words, please stay. It's like that breath is taken. But this is someone who's in the voice of someone who's in a relationship, and it's kind of like that idea of when you're feeling overwhelmed, depressed, when you're not feeling sure about yourself, those emotions, that weight begins to pour out and affects the people closest to you. And it also speaks on the idea to me of pushing someone away, because you're dealing with so much that you don't think that, you know, they should be in a relationship with you. You know, especially, I see you lost inside my fog, searching for a beacon through the haze, glancing at the empty suitcase, pondering, considering, go save yourself. I mean, you know, this is definitely in the voice of a relationship that it's not a comfortable silence. Like, there can be comfortable silences. This is the kind of silence that says, at this point, a decision between the silence, the backs being turned, and the suitcases packed. A decision has been made, but the please stay has such an emotional impact because it's that pleading for don't let it be too late. You know, we can let us figure this out together. Let us hold the key together, play the music together. You know, I know that somewhere within all this silence, all these packed up words that are no longer being said, perhaps we can go back to the music that we used to play together. Really powerful and emotive lines, and very well done by Cedar Chapman.
Yeah, so I think what I got from it was similar to that, but maybe a little on a little bit of a slant. I get the sense that this is someone who has deep emotional feelings for the beloved, but is unable to express them. How you look at me furrowed with confusion, like maybe they're a little confused about how they feel, I'm not sure, but the eyes gone dull, like rain-streaked glass of a closed-down coffee shop. So I got the sense that they're just emotionally kind of closed down. And then there's the black and ivory struck together with uncertain hands, kind of is along those same lines. And then somewhere, my deepest thoughts are a choir of muted lyrics choking in my throat. So I get the sense there, you know, that the choir and lyrics are, you know, the emotions that they want to be able to express, but they can't. They choke on them in their throat. And as a result, they feel like they're an enigma. The narrator doesn't understand the narrator. So, you know, like, how could the beloved ever kind of get inside of them? Each slow breath is frost and fire is a really nice way of expressing that confusion. They both want to be able to express themselves, and at the same time, they're not able to. And then the volta, the yet, and then, you know, the narrator professes their love for the beloved. You are the air my lungs ache for, the missing key, etc. I see you, and so forth. But then, yeah, so I see you lost inside my fog, searching for a beacon through the haze. So there's still just this general sense of not understanding their inability to express themselves. And so then they basically say, you know what, just go, save yourself before you drown in the silence of my walls. And then immediately they say, please stay. So they immediately reverse themselves. I think this, to me, has the strongest ending of any of the poems in the contest. I love that reversal at the end, sort of restating just the confusion. This is not somebody who really understands themselves and their feelings, and I get the sense that Cedar is putting those things together You know, the inability to express ourselves gives us leads to the inability to understand ourselves. And so then, you know, you're left with this kind of schizophrenic view of what you want. I want you to go. No, wait, I want you to stay. So I thought the craft in this was really strong. And it's gorgeously written. The emotional arc here is clear and it's strong. I really like this piece, and it's a great response to that prompt.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I like your observations there, especially on the confusion that the voice of the person is in the poem is going through. So very cool there. All right. And up next, we have The Minimalist, Silence Has a Mouth by Charles Gordante. I began by removing things like winter removing leaves. I removed kitchen chairs, one remained. I wanted the room uncluttered, not looking for a crowd. Emptied, the shelves could breathe. Even my thoughts became lighter. I thought I had finished, but something lingered, a persistence like a plant reaching toward a window. I told myself, want less, less conversation, less responsibility. Still, the silence, it has a mouth. I wanted the quiet, yet the quiet wanted the sound of a match striking. Silence became a responsibility. Emptiness had a need. I turned the lights off. My eyes just opened wider, demanding the dark to say something. A strange paradox. You scrape away the dust, the loose ambition, until you are left with nothing but walls and the question, am I alive? Did I live? End poem.
Great read there, Pam, of a really great write. Medals aside, this was actually sort of my favorite poem of the contest from a different perspective, and that is, I love the idea here of emptying a room of furniture as a metaphor for erasure, and I've written a number of poems about moving furniture around or arranging furniture in an apartment as a metaphor, and so the metaphor here is my favorite, and I really love this idea of removing furniture as self-erasure, and this is, you know, the life has gone as if I never lived prompt. So I also really like the simple and restrained and psychological right here. Don't want to keep pointing to Louise, but Louise, this is she's my favorite. Well, one of my three favorite poets, I guess, living poets, and this would have gotten probably a very high medal in our Louise Gluck contest.
I could definitely see that.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's just so Gluck-like. Yeah. Also, you know, she also wrote about simple everyday things like furniture in an apartment or a house, and so this just has Louise written all over it. So I love this poem, and if you had given it a medal, I would have been really, really happy with that. But I would have said that this is like that one of those films that like the Audience Choice Award films at a film festival, where maybe it didn't quite hit like a 9 out of 10 or whatever, but the audience loved it more than all of the movies that did hit 9 out of 10. So that's kind of how I feel about this. This is a poem I wish I had written. So I think this is fantastic. What do you think, Pam?
It is fantastic. And I will be honest, with a contest with 25 entries,
Yeah.
you get so many that just don't quite make it into that
Yeah.
top 8, but they're still just absolutely amazing poems. He says in his AN, this is dedicated to my son, the minimalist. This has a great consistency in tone, strong lines. You know, I like that he shows us the concept of minimalism as the idea of not decluttering for the sake of your sanity, not decluttering because it's, what would be best, but decluttering, or, taking things away because it feels like, it's almost like there's this sadness, this anger, this idea of, people aren't going to visit me. I'm just not going to have chairs around. And, I don't know, like there's just this kind of almost this punishing feeling of punishment, like, or, kind of, like how like people who are passive aggressive often give the silent treatment. This feels slightly like that. It feels like the minimalism is a representation of the silent treatment. But it's also speaks to me heavily on loneliness and of letting go of what life used to be. Like, this is somebody who, I feel like this also can be on that idea of empty nest syndrome. And I don't know, maybe that's because I'm just like a year or less away from having to let my final kid go. I mean, my final kid is actually technically 18, but they still have another year of high school. And it's just, oh my gosh, the reality of it. I don't know. So I might be, in that thought, I'm probably putting too much of myself in the poem, but I think that's what we do with poetry. And I thought there was great lines throughout, but I especially like, silence became a responsibility. Emptiness had a need. I turned the lights off. My eyes just opened wider, demanding the dark to say something. Yeah, I really, really like that. And absolutely, this is another one that has a very strong ending. Am I alive? Did I live? Excellent write, and very well done by Charles Gradante.
So yeah, I didn't get the sense of the empty nesting, but yeah, I after my kids did kind of get old enough and moved out, I started to well, I went from pack rat to minimalist. It took a few years. My maternal grandparents, my nickname was pack rat because I collected and saved everything. But yeah, after the empty nesting happened, and maybe that's the motivation for the second and third and so forth, stanzas where the narrator is actually physically removing these things themselves. Maybe it's in response to the empty nesting, because I did that. I just started throwing shit out, which I had never done before. I even threw out 3 big boxes of books, which had never done before.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, going through stuff, I've been through that in my life with the going through boxes and stuff. Sometimes you get so caught up in just every memory that an object brings up.
Yep.
Yep.
My kids might want this one day to remember me by. Nah.
Yes, exactly. Oh, yep. It's difficult to let things go. But all right. So next up, I've put Papa by Visago. And go ahead, please, John, and give that a read for us.
Oh, yes. Papa by Visago. I was sitting in an apartment I shared with a friend, coming down from another night on speed. Counter-Strike filled the screen, headphones on, the world far away. Then I heard the doorbell once, maybe twice. I ignored it. Someone else would get it. Then my friend called out, "Espen, there's a girl at the door. She's asking for you." He said her name. Suddenly, my mind was completely clear. There was only one reason she could be here. Only one sentence she could have come to say. I already knew. I had known for years. I opened the door. She stood there, serious. So serious, I could see the fear before she spoke. She stumbled over the words, "Vi har en dotter." I looked at her. "Jeg vet." Then I asked, "Can jeg få se henne?" Henne, I think. After a long silence, she nodded, only to say hello. I agreed. I drove her home. Halfway there, I realized I walked past this house every day on my way to work. All that time, so close. Inside, she asked me to wait in the hallway. So I waited. Seconds, maybe minutes. I don't know. Then, a little face peeked out from behind the chimney. Red hair, freckles, 6 years old. She looked at me. I looked at her. Then she said, "Papa." That was all. We both cried. Neither of us knew what to do. So we walked back where we had come from. End poem.
Great read there, John. Oh my goodness, this one hits so hard and really pulls at the heartstrings. Visago wrote to "Love is a scandal of the personal sort." Amazing imagery, great use of the spacing. I like that he put in what I'm guessing is Norwegian. Yes, yeah, that's what I kind of figured, seeing that he was from Norway, and it looked like one of those languages. But I can't even imagine that moment of meeting a child of yours, either for the first time or for the first time in a long time. I like the everyday imagery. I like how he builds it up. Like, it feels like there's these moments of tension and silence, and I like the interaction, like the idea of a turning point in your life. Like, then I heard the doorbell once, maybe twice. I ignored it. Someone else would get it. Then my friend called out, "Espen, there's a girl at the door. She's asking for you." He said her name. Suddenly, my mind was completely clear. That idea of just that click, that moment, where everything just becomes clearer to you, and then the interaction with the child, and the description of the child. I looked at her, then she said, "Papa." That was all. We both cried. Neither of us knew what to do. And this is an amazing rite all the way through. But so we walked back where we had come from. I like that. I read that two different ways. I feel like it's the idea of sharing the past together. Like, my grandmother on my mom's side used to love to talk about genealogy, and I wish I had paid more attention to her, but I was a arrogant teenager and younger when she did. And I remember I remember me telling her I wasn't interested in all these old dead people, and her going, well, you should be interested because you're the oldest granddaughter or grandchild, which apparently in her mind was my responsibility. Now, that is a lot of responsibility to put on a 13-year-old, I think. But
Yeah.
I do kind of wish it does actually, interestingly enough, I don't know if it's interesting, but funny enough, my grandmother would find it very ironic that I would love at this point to know more about my family history. But I feel like it's about sharing family history, but it could also be a sadder turn. It could be that idea of both of them, like that temporary meeting, but then going back to how life used to be. Either way, I think this is a thoughtful and heartfelt right on those life-changing moments where past and present began a journey together. So excellent right and very well done.
Yeah, I love this poem. I get the sense. So the doorbell, because the doorbell rings once, maybe twice, I ignore it. You get the sense that this maybe has been a doorbell he's been ignoring for quite some time, and so. But then in the Norwegian, the woman, presumably his ex-partner, says, we have a daughter, and he says, yeah, I know. And you get the sense from that, I know, that it's been something that he maybe kind of sort of knew for quite some time, but not really, not that this is, that moment when he finally kind of goes from suspecting, say, to knowing, and he knows it immediately. So I thought that was an incredibly well written kind of a piece there, where he kind of finally admits to himself that he has the daughter, and then he's like, "Can I see her?" And then he says, "Only to say hello." And he agrees. So he finally acknowledges to himself, what he sort of already suspected. And then he goes to see her, and he realizes that, she's been that close, that's, he walks by her house pretty routinely. I thought was a really nice way of showing, not telling, years of missed opportunity. So I thought this was a really strong write, and exactly what I've come to expect from Vizago's poetry. He's just such a fantastic writer and such a fantastic storyteller, because this is not only a poem, it's a really, I would say it's also deep storytelling. So I really love this. Fantastic job, Vizago.
Oh, absolutely. I have to agree. All right. So we are going to have carryovers, which I am not going to say for the next In Our Craft or Sullen Art, because that's just too long to make people wait.
They want Gogol.
Yes. I probably, although I don't think I'll get to them on after midnight because we already have other carryovers, but I'll probably put them on after midnight on Tuesday in case they're needed. But if they're not used, whatever not used there, I will put them on break on through on Thursday next week, and I'll put them at the beginning of the show, so they'll be for sure be put on, on that show. And that will be Lamra, Moss and Memory, Fountain Pen, John Poem, Ken Smith, and Ima Rima. Great show tonight, John. Just absolutely amazing poetry and comments. Thank you to Robbie, Vizago, Cedar, Yumpy, and everybody else who hung on the board. Thank you to everyone who is listening now or will be listening later. We truly appreciate you all. Thank you to everyone who wrote for the show. Of course, thank you to Fill My Eyes for all that she does. Please make sure to keep an eye out on the contests and topic boards put up by late night poets, hosts, and hostesses, because you're sure to find something to inspire. Tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern U.S. time, you can join Fill My Eyes and myself for open poetry. Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern U.S. time, you can join myself and Robbie for Echoes in the Dark. And Sunday, 10 p.m. Eastern U.S. time, you can join Intimidus Rex for Rhythm and Rhyme. And he does have a contest up for that actually needs rights. He has a contest up with music by Quicken. So check that out and see if you're inspired. And John, would you like to say anything in closing?
No, just what a really great contest that was, Pam, and what great, strong, absolutely fantastic rights we had submitted to it. Thank you all for your submissions.
Absolutely. And have a good night, everyone. Have a good night, John.
You too, Pam. Good night.